Consider this structure's rigid boundaries. It represents the finite authority of a statutory body, contrasted against a general civil court's broad jurisdiction. General courts possess inherent jurisdiction, a baseline authority to hear and decide almost any civil dispute. The Strata Management Tribunal, however, lacks this property entirely. Because it lacks that baseline authority, the tribunal cannot act on general principles of fairness. Every order it issues requires authorization from exact black-letter statutory text. This authority is derived from two interdependent sources: the Strata Management Act 2013 and the Strata Management Regulations 2015. In the 2015 regulations, under Part 1 of the preliminary section, we find the exact coordinate for the tribunal's power, Regulation 3. If a dispute cannot be explicitly tethered to this text, the tribunal lacks the legal capacity to hear it. Without that textual anchor, the case faces immediate dismissal for lack of jurisdiction. The text of Regulation 3 states, "The tribunal shall hear and determine any claims specified in Part 1 of the Fourth Schedule to the Act." The first segment establishes a mandatory function through the phrase, "shall hear and determine." The word "shall" is a statutory command. If a claim meets the criteria, the tribunal is compelled to hear it. It has no discretion to refuse. However, that power is limited by the following clause, specified in Part 1 of the Fourth Schedule. The phrase "specified in" serves as a statutory filter. Regulation 3 itself does not grant authority over specific issues, like leaking roofs or maintenance fees. In technical terms, this is a pointer variable. The regulation contains no substantive power. It merely provides the address of where that power is located. To understand the tribunal's operational reality, we must follow that pointer out of the regulations and back into the primary act. Following the pointer variable takes us into the primary act. Regulation 3 functions as a cross-reference, leading directly into the branching requirements of the Fourth Schedule. This statutory architecture contains the substantive list of every claim type the tribunal is authorized to resolve. The first category of jurisdictional authority is defined in paragraph 1 of the schedule. When we examine this branch, we find the specific statutory language used to define that authority. Paragraph 1 covers operational disputes, such as a management corporation seeking to recover unpaid maintenance fees from a parcel owner. To fall within this category, a claimant must allege specific facts: the existence of a debt, the relationship to a strata parcel, and adherence to billing procedures. Even these broad categories are constrained by the exact verbs and nouns used in the statute. A claim for a fee explicitly authorized by the Act will match the text. A claim for an arbitrary penalty not mentioned in the statute will fall outside these boundaries. Failing to achieve this textual match results in a loss of jurisdiction. If the claim does not align with the vocabulary of paragraph 1, it is rejected at the Regulation 3 gateway. The analysis then moves into more granular subparagraphs, branching out from the primary nodes. Subparagraph mapping subjects the broad legal categories to a secondary layer of specific filters. These subparagraphs may introduce requirements regarding which parties have standing to file or specify strict timeframes for initiating the action. We must also analyze the conjunctions, the ands and ors linking these requirements. An or provides alternative paths to validity, whereas an and creates a cumulative requirement. In a cumulative structure, failing to meet a single subcondition invalidates the entire jurisdictional claim. A claim might satisfy the broad requirements of the primary paragraph, but be blocked by a specific subparagraph condition, such as a filing deadline. This creates a risk for practitioners who only research the broad paragraph level, assuming general relevance is sufficient. In this statutory framework, validity is determined at the microscopic level of the text, not by the macro category. Beyond paragraphs and subparagraphs, the Fourth Schedule contains a final hurdle, the statutory proviso. The proviso acts as a condition precedent, a specific state of affairs that must exist before the jurisdiction granted by the rest of the text activates. These are identified in the text by the phrase, "provided that." The proviso functions as a mechanical kill switch. It removes jurisdiction even if the claim matches every preceding paragraph and subparagraph. For example, The tribunal may have authority over bylaw disputes, but a proviso may stipulate that this authority only exists if the bylaw was formally registered. The burden of proof lies with the claimant to demonstrate that the conditions of the proviso have been met. If the claimant proves the bylaw was registered, the condition is satisfied and the path to a hearing remains open. The proviso functions as a structural requirement. Failure to account for it results in a jurisdictional collapse during the hearing. Looking at the macro-level view, we can see the complete jurisdictional architecture. Validating a single claim requires navigating this matrix of terminology, cumulative conditions, and provisos. Every branch and condition in this matrix is contained within the boundary established at the start. The single sentence of Regulation 3 acts as the container for this entire complex system of statutory coordinates. Accessing the tribunal through Regulation 3 is only possible by matching the precise textual requirements located within the fourth schedule. For property managers and lawyers, this necessitates rigorous textual validation of a dispute before any legal action is initiated. The tribunal's authority is not a broad zone of general fairness. It is a strictly mapped topography governed by the letter of the statute.